What's up, guys? Welcome back to Pewpew Academy. I hope that after watching the first episode, everyone has been farming diligently and evading dungeon divers with my pro tips. And if you were a brand new player who just started playing the game when you watched the first video, well, by now you should be ready to go farm in the red or black zones. So in this episode, I will go over some material that will help you survive your PvP zone adventures. In the famous book Art of War, Sun Tzu said, "If you know yourself and know your enemy, you need not to fear the result of 100 battles." So today we'll get to know our enemies. We're going to talk about some strategies that people use for ganking in the red and black zones. Some of these strategies are really pretty creative, and you won't be able to see it coming if you didn't know what to look for. So the specific ganking strategies that we'll look at today are red zone tunnel ganking, red or black zone war camp baiting, stealth camping, black zone portal stealth camping, and raven gank squats. And after we're done with those, we'll talk about zoning and outlaw mechanics. So all of these ganking strategies are used by large groups of gankers trying to prey on the lonely solo players or the gatherers, who basically have no chance of fighting back. So knowing your enemy and being able to see them coming is the only way to survive them. First, we'll talk about a strategy that is most often used in red zones. There are many tunnel zones in Albion. The ones on the Royal Continent connect the yellow zones to a red zone, and they're often used as shortcuts from Carleon to royal cities. They're fairly high traffic areas. So to gank in these zones, the gankers will often have a large party sitting right in the middle of the zone, and smaller parties waiting outside in the connected zones. They may also have a scout near the entrance of the zone. The scouts will not be flagged up, and usually they will be maybe wearing some gathering gear, riding an ox, so they will look non-threatening to you. And when you enter the zone, the scout will sound the alarm, and shortly after you enter, the party waiting outside the zone would enter after you. So if you keep going into the tunnel, you'll find yourself being blocked off by the party that's already waiting for you in the middle, and if you try to turn back, you'll be cut off by the party that just came in after you, and you'd be pinching in the middle, and that's how they get you. So to avoid them, when you enter a red tunnel zone, check the little number next to your minimap. That number shows you the number of hostiles in your region. If you see that there are already gankers in the tunnel, it will probably be a good idea to leave the tunnel immediately and go around. Remember, the tunnels are shortcuts, so there's always another way around them. For example, here I am in the tunnel connecting Cairn to Crigmore. So if I wanted to go around it, I could just go to Malag Crevice first, then Cairn Glasscore, and then Cairn Camain. It's important to know that this method of ganking can be used in the black zones as well, but it's just much more often seen in the red zones because the red zones have much higher traffic, so there's more prey for the gankers. Next, since we're already in this zone, it's the perfect opportunity to talk about war camp baiting. War camps are chests that allow players to store their items. They can be found in both red zones and black zones. The important thing to know is that in red zones, war camps are always inside the free PvP zone. In free PvP zones, the rules of engagement is similar to black zones. Players can attack you without flagging up. So a strategy that people use for ganking here is to have a player act as bait. He'll be sitting in the middle of the war camp pretending he's using the chest. His buddies will be hiding somewhere close by but outside of the free PvP zone. And the bait player may be naked on an expensive mount to look not only unthreatening but also like a juicy free kill to you until you attack him. The moment you attack him, he'll run away and all of his friends will start piling in from all different directions to gangbang you, which doesn't feel as good as it sounds, trust me. Next, we'll talk about stealth camping. These usually happen next to the entrance or the exit to a zone, or any high traffic areas like crossroads or even in the tunnel zones that we just talked about. The way this works, you'll have a large group of gankers camping in a high traffic area, and they'll all have a stealth skill like assassin jacket or mercenary shoes equipped. And they will also have a scout with them. The scout will again be dressed up to look non-threatening to you. So he may be in gathering gear or some tier 4 gear with health regen food to look like he's doing solo dungeons. And he's going to be a little further down the road, just outside of vision range from his group. So when he spots someone, he's going to sound the alarm, and all the gankers in his group will hit the stealth button and become invisible. And because you won't be able to see them, you'll end up riding right into them, and they'll jump out of stealth and kill you and take your stuff. So to avoid this, whenever you see a single player, regardless of what kind of gear he has on, if he's alone and sitting kind of AFK looking on the road in a high traffic area, suspect that he is a scout and right past him just a little bit to make him sound the alarm, and then turn back and wait 10 seconds, because in 10 seconds the gankers that just went into stealth will be out of stealth already, and you'll be able to see their nameplates on the edge of your screen, so you'll be able to avoid them. And then one step up from that, we have the Black Zone Portal Stealth Campers. So this is an upgraded version of the stealth camping. So to explain this, first you need to know how portal bubbles work. When you just enter a black zone or any zone, you will have a bubble on you that make you immune to attacks. A number of things can happen to make you lose this bubble, and one of them, the one that's most commonly used for this ganking strategy, is looting. So if you see a player corpse and you click on it to loot it, that will make you lose your bubble. And if you actually pick something up from the corpse, you'll also dismount yourself. So the way this ganking strategy works is the gankers will first bring a bunch of cheap items with them, and they will all go into the black zone to type /suicide on the portal. And when they do this, they'll create a bunch of corpses that will look like they still have loot on them. Next, they will come back to the black zone with their stealth gear on, and they'll all camp on the portal. So when you zone into the portal, sometimes you may have a long loading screen and your character may be already on this side of the map already, but you won't be able to see that yet on your screen because you have a loading screen. So when you zone in, they'll all enter stealth, and you'll never see these gankers. And sometimes people zone in and they see the gankers, but because they're all right next to the portal, when they enter stealth, it will look like they just ported into the city. So you'll let your guard down and you'll see all these bodies around. You might click on one of these bodies to see if they still have loot on them. And when you do that, you'll lose your bubble. And the moment you lose your bubble, they'll all jump on you and chain a million stuns on you and kill you before you can even move again. So the bottom line is, if you see a bunch of corpses on the portal, there's probably somebody camping nearby in stealth, so don't touch those corpses. There's no good loot on them anyway. Just leave them alone, use the bubble to help you get away from the area. Another thing to mention here is that doing just about anything other than moving, mounting, and dismounting will make you lose the bubble. So if you use a skill, eat a food, drink a potion, all of those things will make you lose bubble. And another one that people will sometimes try to trick you with is trading. If you accept a trade or a duel, you will also lose bubble. So when a strange man tells you, "Hey little girl, I have candy for you, just trade with me," don't believe in him. Finally, we're going to talk about Raven Gank Squads. These are seen in the deeper black zones, tier 7s and 8s usually. And they are pretty much impossible to get away from unless you have a fast mount. So this is part of the reason why in the first video I said you should avoid the higher tier black zones when you're new, because if you encounter one of these squads, there's really no way for you to get away. The way they work, again, it will be a large group of players, and all of them will have very fast mounts, so Swiftclaws, Direwolves, even Spectral Bats, and Black Panthers. And some of them will be riding a Morgana Raven. The Ravens are pretty fast mounts too, and they have an active ability on them that hits in a large AoE and inflicts fear on all of the targets that are hit. So in this game, fear always makes your targets run directly away from you. So the Raven gankers will try to get ahead of you, and let's say if I'm a Raven ganker and Sasha here is you, and Rebel the Beast here is my teammate, so I will get ahead of you, hit you with a fear that will make you run directly away from me, so into my teammate Rebel, who's gonna dismount and show you what a beast he is. So if you ever want to go deeper into the higher tier Black Zone dungeons in your region, make sure you go there on a fast mount, so you can avoid these ravens. If you go there on a horse and you encounter one of these, you are pretty much guaranteed to be dead. And even if you go there on a fast mount, when you encounter the squad like this, you will really need to pay attention to your pathing, take the shortest path to the next zone, and avoid getting slowed by mobs. Most gank squads like this will chase you for a very long time. They will chase you through several zones until they get you, which is why it's more common to see them in deeper black zones, because there you will have to ride a very long distance before you can reach safety. So there's a higher chance that way for them to get you. They're not so common in the red zones because in the red zones you're only a couple zones away from safety, so their chances of success will be much lower in those zones. So those are all the open world ganking strategies that I can think of that are either hard to see coming or hard to escape from. If anyone can think of anything else, please throw it in the comments below and we'll talk about them in the discussion video that follows. Next, I want to talk about some basic mechanics of the game that you should know about if you want to survive your gankers. Number one is zoning. After you recently attacked someone or something, so either a player or an NPC, you will not be able to switch zones until you're out of combat. In this case, out of combat is defined by not inflicting any damage or status effects for a certain amount of time. And that amount of time, I believe, is roughly 10 seconds. So this is important to know because if you get ganked and dismounted, depending on how far away you are from the exit, you might want to be careful not to hit anyone with your skills while you're running away. So like in this clip, I hit someone with my spear E while I was running away. So I couldn't zone out right away when I reached the exit. But luckily I do have a stealth, and I went into stealth while sitting on the portal, so that allowed me to wait out the 10 seconds to just barely survive this gank. Now keep in mind that you don't have to do damage to be placed in combat. Any kind of status effect would also do it. So on a lot of escape skills like slow on the frost shot, knockback on the 9 armor, and purge on mage robes, they would all put you in combat. And if you are still in combat when you reach the portal, your best chance is to just wait on the portal and pray that they don't kill you in 10 seconds. If you have any skills that make you invulnerable or difficult to target, like Levitate, Ice Block, Everlasting Spirit, or Ambush, those can all help you survive those 10 seconds. Lastly, let's talk about Outlaw. In PvP zones, you will get a debuff on you called Outlaw if you recently attacked anyone. The Outlaw debuff lasts for 2 minutes, and once you are outlawed, you will not be able to enter cities. And usually, when you get close to the city entrance, you will get a bubble on you, but if you're outlawed, you won't get that bubble on you either. You will not be outlawed if you attack someone who is outlawed. So normally in a 1v1 situation, if someone hits you first and you hit back, you will not get the outlaw debuff on you. But chances are, if you get ganked in a portal zone, there's probably going to be more than one ganker around. So if you do anything AoE, so for example, if you throw a wind wall to get away from your gankers, that wind wall might end up hitting someone that hasn't attacked you yet. And if that happens, you will get the outlaw debuff on you, and you will no longer be able to enter the city or get a bubble from the portal. So if you're on the run and you're close to the portal, be sure to hold your AoE skills and not hit anyone who hasn't hit you first. And if you do get outlawed, keep in mind that although you cannot zone into the city for 2 minutes now, you can still zone into the adjacent zones and get a bubble from there if you haven't hit anyone in the past 10 seconds. So that's all for this video. I hope you find these tips helpful. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and check out my Twitch.